All right, from a defending champion to, well, the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is making money moves, restructuring Dak Prescott's contract yesterday, creating $36.6 million in cap space in the process. That, according to what a source tells ESPN and Adam Schefter yesterday, basically they converted more than $45 million of his base salary to a signing bonus and cuts his cap figure. What to do with that money? Senior NFL insider Adam Schefter is with us this morning. And Shefty, low-key, hoop head, like dialed into that windy segment. He perked up during some of those NBA highlights. The highlight here for Dallas is this was not the only contract that they restructured. Freed up about $20 million by doing the same to CeeDee Lamb. What does all this mean for Dallas, Adam?
Well, good morning, Randy. It's $56.6 million over 2 days that the Dallas Cowboys have freed up. And in the words of Jerry Jones, they plan to be, quote unquote, selectively aggressive during free agency. Now, keep in mind, this was a team that was not aggressive last year. I would not expect the Dallas Cowboys to jump into the free agent market and make a big splash. Rather, I think they'll be focused on re-signing some of their own players like Jordan Lewis, like Rico Dowdle, maybe DeMarcus Lawrence if they could figure that out. And of course, we have the looming extension at some point this offseason with Micah Parsons. So even though the Dallas Cowboys have freed up all that money, it's not exactly like they're going on some spending spree in the next week, showering those riches elsewhere. They freed up that money because they needed that flexibility to try to sign back some of their players, to be able to sign their incoming draft class, to make some of the moves that they need to. But I wouldn't exactly go and look for them to make some kind of free agent splash.
Okay, Dak's restructuring, part of a busy 24 hours in the NFL. Why don't we run through the chef's menu here with Adam Schefter, beginning with DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf told the Seattle Seahawks yesterday that he would like to be traded. He'd like to be traded to a contender. He'd like to be traded to a contender that will give him a new contract as well. And therefore, it's a complicated deal to work out. He's got 1 year left on this contract, due to make $18 million this year. There'll be interest in DK Metcalf. The Seahawks will want back a lot in compensation. And so any team that makes that trade, that can pull it off, will have to compensate Metcalf and the Seahawks. Not a simple proposition to pull off. Meanwhile, the Las Vegas Raiders made Max Crosby the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, signing him to a 3-year, $106.5 million extension that averages $35.5 million a year. He will be the first of many pass rushers this year to land record-type deals. TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, a bunch of pass rushers in search of a new deal. And a pass rusher who's also in search of a new deal right now is Joey Bosa, whom the Los Angeles Chargers released last night. 5 Pro Bowls in 9 seasons. The move freed up over $25 million in salary cap space. He had a roster bonus due next week. Before the Chargers paid that roster bonus, they decided to part ways with Joey Bosa. And think about this. Joey Bosa is now a free agent. Khalil Mack is already a free agent. And so there is the idea, the prospect, that the Chargers could wind up losing both elite pass rushers.
Scoring in Seattle, perhaps contributing to this news, and light a candle for Mina Kimes, because this one had to hurt. DK Metcalf wants out of Seattle. He wants out of the nest. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Seahawks wide receiver has requested a trade and would prefer to be dealt to a contending team. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler, has a year left on the 3-year, $72 million deal, and he signed back in 2022. He's only 27 years old. Quickly becomes the premier receiver available. Although a team source telling Adam, we're going to do what's best for the Seahawks. All right, time to play wide receiver matchmaker, make me a match. Harry Douglas, normally talking about those birds in Atlanta. Now we're moving out to the Pack and Dub, and we got Damian Woody. Harry, what team is the best match for DK Metcalf?
Let's see. What team needs a 6'4", 235-pound, physically imposing wide receiver? I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, wow.
A guy that could be opposite of George Pickens. And also, you got to look at the offensive system. Arthur Smith had a lot of success with a guy that DK Metcalf is very, very close to. That's A.J. Brown. So I think this is a perfect fit for DK Metcalf moving forward with his career in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, listen, Harry and I are thinking just like you. If you can't upgrade the quarterback position, then upgrade the weapons around the quarterback, whoever the quarterback is going to be with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got a guy, DK Metcalf, I think complements George Pickens tremendously. Big physical wide receiver, be physical in the run game as well, because we know the Pittsburgh Steelers want to be able to run the football.
Guys, Gary, did DK say he wanted to go to a contender?
I thought I heard contender.
He said contender.
I did hear contender.
Okay, maybe these guys didn't understand the assignment. No. Listen, another receiver looking for a new home, Davante Adams. Older than Metcalf, now coming off of this Jets release earlier in the week. Harry, what team is the best match for Davante Adams?
Okay, so let's go with a contender. Since that's the assignment, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers, a place that Davante Adams was previously. But I think this is also a football team, Green Bay that is, that needs that dominant presence at the wide receiver position. They have a lot of guys that can play very well, but they need that guy when it's third down, when it's a 50-50 ball, and we call it 100-100 in the wide receiver room, that can go up and make those catches. He's accustomed to playing in cold weather as well. Davante Adams going back to Green Bay, being paired up with Jordan Love, I love that addition.
Hey, Harry, how about the Los Angeles Chargers? Considering Davante Adams a West Coast guy, Justin Herbert needs another weapon to throw to. Playing indoors, I can see this type of move happening for the Los Angeles Chargers. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
All right, speaking of Los Angeles, Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp, he remains on the trade block. Harry, what's the best match for Cooper Kupp?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. They didn't have a wide receiver last year that eclipsed 700 yards. A sure-handed wide receiver, a Super Bowl champion. You have Drake May going into his second year. Why not have an extension of the coaching staff on the field and a guy that thinks like a quarterback as well? So I'm going Cooper Kupp to the Patriots.
I'm going to throw it to Pittsburgh Steelers. I know we say it with DK, but Cooper Kupp as well could be another piece to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a pro. I think George Pickens needs a pro in that wide receiver room. Cooper Kupp for me.
Yeah, Kupp didn't make any demands about going to a contender, so both of those options sound like they could work.
Contract of Dak Prescott, creating $36.6 million in additional cap room, which takes the overall number to 56.6 over the last 2 days that they have created by restructuring their two best offensive players, their quarterback and their wide receiver. So what does that mean? Jerry Jones, the owner/general manager of the Cowboys, spoke yesterday. This must mean a big move, right, Jerry?
I don't think aggressive is the right word. I think when we see a part that a player that can take us in a direction that can improve where we're going to be pretty significantly from where we're going to be if that opportunity wasn't there, for that, whether it be the talent of that individual player or whether it be addressing any perceived places we need help. I wouldn't call us really void in any area, void if you include what we're going to do in the draft. I wouldn't see that. So as your question is addressing free agency, I'm not looking at free agency as a place to fill voids.
Then why are you creating so much cap room? $56.6 million in cap room in the past 2 days by restructuring these contracts. You have a roster that has needs for you to fill. So why aren't you looking at free agency as an option to fill those voids? I can't understand the logic there, guys.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either, Smalls, except for the Dallas Cowboys not being aggressive in free agency year over year. Like, the only reason why this makes some sense is because they never do it. They never engage. They never get involved in the expensive part of free agency, which is typically the first 3 or 4 days. And so for everyone expecting them to make this big splash, it's not going to happen. But the reality is that based on the salary cap that they have, based on the impending free agency and free agents that they have this year, along with guys that they have coming up as free agents in 2026, they've got to take care of their own in terms of making sure that they get those guys under contract, players that they deem as a part of their core moving forward. The only question that I have is, once they do that, is how do they improve the team from what we saw on the field last year?
Are they trying to?
I mean, based on what we've seen from the Eagles and the Commanders, how could you not think you have to improve? Going into 2025, you're the third best team in your division at best, with the third best quarterback in your division at best, who you're paying $60 million a year to. You got to get better. And in order to supplement what you already have on that roster, you're going to have to be aggressive. Now, you're going to have to find value signings as well, comparable to what we saw the Philadelphia Eagles do with Zach Bond, a 1-year, $5 million deal for an all-pro off-the-ball linebacker. You've got to find those types of deals. You've got to find the Bobby Wagner deal, a veteran player that ages out of their prime but is still capable of playing at an all-pro level. You've got to find those guys. And if the Dallas Cowboys aren't going to get involved in the early part of free agency, if they aren't going to get involved with trying to turn over every stone to find those hidden gems, I just don't know how they keep pace with the upper echelon teams in the conference. I just don't see a world in which that happens.
So you guys are sitting here and saying over the last 2 days, they free up $56.6 million in cap space, and you do not believe they're plotting for a big move based on Jerry Jones's comments about free agency, right? That's where we're at right now. So in other words, there's multiple ways of then improving your team. There's by way of draft. There's by way of trade, right? I don't know who they specifically could be looking at in that spot. I mean, we could dream, if you're a Cowboys fan, of they get in on Myles Garrett and try to pair Myles Garrett with Michael Parsons, which
That'd
would be
nuts.
Based on the contract that Max Crosby got yesterday, the highest for a non-quarterback in the league in history, over $100 million, $90+ million guaranteed. You would have to do 2 of those, because both of those guys, in my opinion, are better than Max Crosby in Parsons, and that's not